A lot of Northerners are coming out to saying President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is dealing with them by signing the NIMC Act 2026 into law, which the president said will prohibit multiple vote buying and rigging in the north. Why are the Northerners saying this?
Do not forget that in the north, there's always the history of voter manipulation. We have always seen underage voting in the northern part of the country. We have always seen allegation of people coming from Niger, from neighboring African countries to register to participate in the Nigerian electoral process through the north. Only Kano alone, often turning, like in the last election, they turned in 1.7 million votes. And if you go and look at the real population of Lagos and Kano, we agree that Lagos is more populated. Now, if you go and look at Kaduna State, they turned in 1.4 million votes in that election. Katsina State turned in 1.58 million votes, 1,058,000 votes. So the question is, there is always this allegation that they not use some system to manipulate the vote by allowing children to vote, by allowing foreigners to vote. Now, after the signing of this new act into law, we have seen the DG of this new National Identity Management Commission meeting with the INEC chairman, talking about Amubuta, synergizing or how to show that or how to ensure that they use the NIM to stop multiple registration, whether underage voting. So it is a whole lot of avenue to manage Nigerian identity. I think this was the rattling the lot because all the areas they used to manipulate the process over the by-election will be checkmate. Apart from the government and another thing. Look at the election of 2015 that brought in Buhari into office. The resident INEC commissioner in Kano State died under mysterious circumstances after the election. Well, after the election, it was alleged that the man was trying to raise issues as to how they rig election in Kano State against Jonathan. Finally, the news came that the man, his entire family died overnight as a result of gas emission from generator. Quite surprising and strange to tie the level of manipulation in the northern part of the country. So I want to believe that the president is being more careful. He's bringing his experience to bear. Now that most Northerners, particularly some Fulani Cabals in the north, are saying enough is enough, that the president is not going back. Let me even remind you that even the man, Mananasi El-Rufai, before his incarceration, he was very emphatic that Tinubu do not have part of victory come 2027. And he was saying repeatedly, anywhere you go, anywhere to get to listen. And I want to believe, even though some people have said that prosecution of El-Rufai, Malami is lopsided and targeted against opposition, I want to say that what is important is, even as I agree that the president may be selecting those he's prosecuting. So that's always been the Nigerian system. But the question is, those are being accused, are they corrupt? That is the question Nigeria should be asking. And if they are corrupt, they should have their day in court. Of course, the government have their day in court. At the end of the day, they come to take judgment. Just like we have seen the case of Malami, what have ruled that he should forfeit 48 properties. So for me, I know and I believe that the president is targeting those opposition, because you know why the president may be doing it. After the death of Buhari, it became obvious that northern Cabals, northern stakeholders do not want to align with Tinubu. So Tinubu now sees himself as standing alone to fight it out by himself. Under when Buhari was alive, Tinubu was the right of Buhari to market him in the northern part of the country. But after the death of Buhari, we saw the last of Mananasi El-Rufai, Malami, Babachi Lawa. These were full soldiers of Buhari, taken away from that CPC. And of course, coming alive with Atiku. So the president is now going to find his feet in the north by going after those. That does not mean they are not corrupt anyway. They are going after those who perhaps may be against his political interest come 2027.
A lot of people are saying Tinubu is doing all of this because he's scared of Kwankwaso. Kwankwaso seems to be forming a lot of northern alliance for Peter Obi.
In part of it. In part of it because, like I told you after the show, only Kano State in the last election got 1.7 million votes. And in that election, Kwakwaso as a presidential candidate got over 1.7. Yes, the register one who vote in Kano State for the election was 1.7 million votes. Only Kwakwaso alone in that election scored 1.7 million votes. So if he's afraid of Kwakwaso, it's a genuine fear. Because this is a man who is like an institution in Kano politics. And political influence has multiplied effect in some states close to Kano State. For instance, Jigawa State, that has 27 local government, was carved out of Kano. So there's no way you can take away the influence of Kwakwaso from Jigawa State. And apart from Jigawa, other states that are close to Kano State, you still have influence. And apart from that, now that the North is saying that Tinubu is carrying out some reform that is targeted against the North, so his popularity, talking about Tinubu's popularity, is dwindling in the northern part. We are seeing a situation where northern advocates are speaking up every here and there, and against Tinubu. I've seen someone who came out to say that of all the southern presidents that the North supported, that Tinubu is the one that have mostly despised the North, and they are fearing that he will not get their support. I don't believe that this all this form part why the Tinubu himself is becoming more careful to see how he can checkmate the North.
If you look at him, do you think his replacement of Shetima will still give him that strong edge in the northern region? Because a lot of people have been saying that he should change Shetima so that he can also get more alliances of the North.
To be quite honest with you, the Christian communities in the North will not be happy with Tinubu. That is true. Another thing that is working against Tinubu in the North is, before the North gave him that vote, because I went to check some states in the North after that election, I discovered that a state like Katsina State, though Buhari was alive then, Tinubu got 430 million votes. I think we got 430 million votes. But this one coming election, that is not going to be the case. Because Buhari is no longer there. Apart from Buhari is no longer there, the North already see Tinubu as a betrayer. So definitely, he's not going to enjoy the support he enjoyed from the North in the last election for the purpose of the forthcoming 2027 presidential election. So whether we like it or not, the North have made up their mind that they don't want to follow Tinubu again.
But do you also talk about Malami, the 48 properties that was forfeited by Malami? What does this mean for Nigerians?
It means two things. One, it means that somebody who is privileged to occupy office and perhaps use it to enrich himself can be held account and make a proceed whatever he acquires. Another thing it means is that for those who watch closely, political pundits, it has established that the government will only target those who are not in support of the government. However, that does not mean that those targeted are not corrupt. You know, in Nigeria, the average politician is always corrupt. Once you give somebody elected position, whether you use appointment, once there is availability of funds, it is unlikely that the person will not corrupt himself. So that is the situation we find ourselves. So at the end of the day, even this other thing means that some persons will be whipped into line, because some people will be afraid that if they go out of their way to support another candidate other than Tinubu, particularly those who are politically exposed, that the president and his handlers may pursue them with whatever wrong they have done in the past, prosecute them.
All right, what will be your reaction towards Seyi Makinde calling for an independent probe, the UN, to come and probe the circumstances surrounding the Oyo kids' adoption, and Oshiomhole clamming down and saying that we are a sovereign nation, that Seyi Makinde should be cautioned? What's your reaction to that?
I think on one hand, Seyi Makinde seems to be talking for the both side of his mouth. But on the other hand, I will explain. On the other hand, he may have some level of classified information that may not be privy to the public by virtue of his position. Going by the first assertion I made, Seyi Makinde was the first person to tell the world that a Nifna was killed in the course of trying to rescue those girls. So at one point, did he not go work with him? Did he not synergize with them to start raising issues? That is on one hand. Then on the second part of it, who is somebody who is the sitting governor of a state, who has a level of intelligence, who have some confidence even in the security agency, even in TSS, who may give him some classified information. So he may have access to some level of information that we do not have. That is why I even encourage him, if he has some level of information at his disposal that is not supposed to be, that is done in a way that is not supposed to be done, he should go a step further to bring the public, rather than just stopping at executive movement and other work bodies to come and do an independent investigation or whatever matter happen in the process of the abduction and kidnapping.
And what's also your reaction towards the Senate rejecting the call for the second time to probe the PFIPC fake agency scandal?
It is the nature of the Senate to have, and it's quite regrettable and unfortunate. Do not forget that even that same Senate, Oshomola reminded them recently that they needed to probe who gave an order that saw the military personnel guarding the Kevin school withdrawn 30 minutes before the attack and abduction of school children. But the senatorship under the leadership of Abiu refused to do that. So when you see them declining, giving flimsy excuse that the matter is already being investigated by ICPC, I think that's a flimsy excuse for me, because Senate is the institution that has the mandate to scrutinize budgets. Budget appropriation is what it is when it comes to the Senate. It is after the president passes that Mr. President will start letting told up it becomes a budget. So the Senate have a responsibility to tell Nigerians who did what, who came to defend that budget. I understand that in the process of budget defense, the relevant agencies of government, ministries and agencies normally come to relevant committees of the Senate and House of Rep to defend their inputs. This time around, we are talking about 27.7 billion inserted to an agency that is reportedly fake. The question is, who inserted it? Who sat to defend it? The Senate have a burden to tell Nigerians. For me, that excuse is to save themselves from shame. But there's no way they can probe that thing and Senate will not come to read it. How can I tell the world that you are this institution that is saddled with the responsibility of scrutinizing the budget? A fake agency was incited. It means some person could have come, or another would have come to, of course, defend that budget. Then, if your house are clean, do your investigation, tell the world who came to defend that budget, because in your record, you must know who that came to defend that budget. That will widen and deepen the investigation, and more person will be prosecuted. So for me, the Senate, it has something to hide.